Hello friends and strangers, I am Heli, and in this video I am taking you with me into our life, beginnings and always. In our last episode, Cove, the boy with the creepy dad, came to our place for a play date. We looked at some seashells, and then Sheila, who is the brown-haired boy in the picture, came along, and apparently he's a friend of our big sister, and he wanted to go and find her, and we thought she might be at the park, and Cove wanted to go and see the park, so apparently we are heading out into the park. After getting permission from your moms, the three of you were ready to head out. It was a short walk to the park. Lizzie had convinced your moms that it was so short she should always be allowed to walk there by herself. When you found her, she was hanging on the jungle gym, swinging back and forth. "Hey, Lizzie." Her face lit up when she saw you, her big brown eyes going wide. "Hazel, Sheila." "Hi." She dropped to the ground and landed with a soft thud in the sand. In a split second, Sheila had abandoned you two and scrambled over to stand by her. You were used to being left out when it was just the three of you, but now Cove was here. You weren't sure if this was an improvement. "Who's that?" "It's Cove. He's new."
Hi.
"I remember. Hi, Cove. Welcome to my park. Nobody ever comes to play here, so this is where we get together." She gestured wildly with her arms, as if to present the area to the newcomer. Without interrupting Lizzie's speech, Cove whispered in your ear, quiet enough that the others wouldn't overhear. "I thought kids couldn't own places like parks or hills." You couldn't help but laugh a tiny bit. While Lizzie continued talking, you took the chance to kick off your shoes and wriggle your toes through the warm sand. "Nice, huh? In this neighborhood, I'm the one who comes up with the ideas." "You are?"
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, I am. Who else could handle the job?" "Lizzie is the oldest." "By a lot. My mom said you're Hazel's age."
Yeah.
"I thought so. I'm still the only one in this group with double digits." "What about other kids?" "Other kids? There aren't any. We're the only kids here, and Sheila is just visiting from another place. Not even tourists really bring their kids here. This is the land of ancients. Be careful that the oldies don't try to steal your youth."
Oh.
For a second, it looked like he might cry again. But something in his eyes shifted, and he looked back at Lizzie. "What kind of old people? Like moms and dads or grandparents?" "Grandparents who don't have kids. They hate kids." "Why? We haven't done anything." "Only some of them don't like kids." "Stop saying stuff like that. You're gonna upset him." "Yeah, they're really bad." Only some of them don't like kids." You interjected quickly, hoping Lizzie wouldn't take things too far. Cove sniffled, his forehead creasing with worry. Lizzie was staring Cove down, but Cove wasn't even looking at her anymore. He didn't seem to care that she was there. He went into his own head. Sheila was the next one to speak, completely unaware of the situation. I met Lizzie and Hazel in school. You'll see tons of kids there when summer is over. I don't want to go to a new school. I don't want summer to end. Sheila looked down to the dirt. He hasn't had much luck striking up conversations with Cove. I like summer vacation a lot too. All the building tension in the air suddenly vanished when Lizzie laughed. At Sheila's discomfort, at how weird she thought Cove was, at something else entirely you didn't really know. But she laughed, face scrunching up.
Okay.
Welcome to Sunset Bird Cove. Take a seat, put up your feet, and get used to it. Wah is right. Ah, for the rest of the summer, Cove was always there. You saw him more often than Sheila, and on some days, when she was in a bad mood or busy, you even saw him more often than Lizzie. He became a staple of your everyday life, the way sun and lunch and the beach were. That first summer, you hadn't really been interested in him one way or another. He was just kind of a fact of life, someone you met with because he was there. Of course, that was only the start of things. Alright, now we get to the moments. Shopping, grown up, long day, sandcastle, fireflies. These are the 5 that come with the base game. And then library, ghost, barbecue, runaway and sleepover are the 5 that come with the DLC. Let's I don't know. Let's go with the barbecue. You'd been brought along to that big park today, which did an excellent job of living up to its title. The park near your house, with its lonely playground equipment, wasn't even a quarter of the size of the expanse of grass and trees that lay before you now. As it was in the next town over and too far for you to walk by yourself, you didn't get to visit it much, and so you soaked up the environment. Another difference between this park and the one in your neighborhood was that this one had visitors other than you, Lizzie, Sheila, and Cove. Today, it was the busiest you'd ever seen it, thanks to a community get-together, luring people in from all over the local area with the promise of barbecue and fireworks. Your family and Cove's were just 2 of many. What seemed like dozens of cars were parked up already when you had arrived. You saw Cove hesitate as he took in the growing gaggle of strangers. By your mummy, Lizzie bounced on the balls of her feet, barely containing her excitement. The crowd made you nervous. You couldn't wait for the fireworks. You looked forward to meeting more kids. You'd rather have stayed at home. Your tummy was already rumbling for the food to come. Even if it was bigger, this park wasn't as special as the one back home. The crowd made you nervous. But you couldn't avoid coming to the event. Mummy had told you that the people running the community event weren't charging for it, but she wanted them to get something in return. Which is why you'd not been allowed to touch the beautifully iced cupcakes she had carried on her lap during the drive over. It was a special treat for them. Every time the car made a turn, she'd clutched the box tight enough for her knuckles to strain, much to everyone else's amusement. Mr. Holden's contribution to the party, a huge pack of juice boxes, was tucked under his arm after being retrieved from the car's trunk. You bet there had been no such dramatics around that cargo getting here in one piece, but the boxes did lack the beautiful shimmer of Mummy's treasured cupcakes.
Okie dokie.
Everyone all set? Should be. Cove, did you put sunscreen on before we left? Yeah, I always do. You don't have to tell me. Mr. Holden deflated his attempt at caring for his son rebuffed, but he triumphed with a smile.
Good kid.
I don't want you getting burned or dehydrated either. It'll be a busy day.
Well,
Don't think there's going to be any risk of that second part. Mum nodded at the tables up ahead, laden with all kinds of food and drink. She was right. There was plenty to go around. The parents headed over, with you, Lizzie and Cove trailing after them. A bunch of grown-ups were clustered around there, chatting, but you were more intrigued by what was on the tables. Some of it was familiar. Chilled meat, sliced vegetables, big bags of chips, but there was a lot that you didn't recognize. Your moms had said that you weren't to touch the food until they said it was time to eat. You didn't see the harm in just taking a little. You wanted to listen to their rules. You didn't want to risk getting caught. Let's be a good girl and say we wanted to listen to their rules. You felt that was important. You saw that Mummy and Mr. Holden had deposited the food and drink they'd brought. Mummy gave the cupcakes one final worried look before turning to you with a smile. Since that's the topic at hand, how about we freshen up with something to drink? Yeah, that'd be great. Along with the ones out, there was a giant ice cooler on the ground, stuffed full of cans of soda, boxes of juice and milk, as well as bottles of water. Your drink was soda, water, juice or milk? Let's have juice. You slurped the sweet juice through the straw until, all too soon, you were sucking up only air. Your little group took a break while everyone quenched their thirst. Mr. Holden smacked his lips, pantomiming enjoyment. That hit the spot, but you kids should go have fun. You can take your stuff with you and join other kids playing games. Just don't go too far from the tables. We'll be keeping an eye out, so don't even think about sneaking off. We are not going to the other parts of the park today. Lizzie huffed at their comments. They did sound directed at her, but she scanned the surroundings. Nodding her head towards a group of kids, like a general directing their battalion, she pointed the way.
Come on!
Let's go over there. Cove's mouth was downturned as he looked from the parents and the other adults to the new kids, clearly not favoring either option. But ultimately, he hunched his shoulders and tagged along after Lizzie. You went to play, stuck with your parents. Let's go play. You followed after Lizzie and Cove, who were waiting for you on the outskirts of the group of parents. Hurry up! You picked up the pace, moving into a jog, but when Lizzie pelted away at full speed, you and Cove had no choice but to break out into a run. The other kids were far out in the field. Still, at your speed, it wasn't long until you reached them. As you approached, they turned around to greet the newcomers.
Hi!
Hi, I'm Lizzie. That's my little sister Hazel. The one with the cast is Cove. You offered a smile. Cove simply lifted a hand in greeting. There was a chorus of hellos and names from the other kids. One of the kids looked to be about Lizzie's age or older. A couple seemed to be the same age as you and Cove, and there was one tiny little thing with his arms folded over his chest. What are you up to? The first kid, a boy with curly black hair and neon green sneakers, who'd introduced himself as Hayden, shrugged as he looked to the others. Not much. The second kid to pipe up, Lisa, had half her face obscured behind the huge glasses she wore. We haven't decided yet. She glanced wistfully over her shoulder. Following her gaze, you saw the spray of water first, and heard the shriek as someone got splashed in the face before you spotted the person shooting them. Some people are playing with water guns, but there aren't any left. The smallest kid, Noah, grumbled at that. You guessed that was why he was sulking. Spencer, who hadn't said much, patted his shoulder. So that's out. A new kid raced over, with a glint in her eyes and her braids streaming behind her. You spotted the plastic orange pistol in her hand too late, when the trigger had already been pressed. Ah! Rude! Hey! Lizzie, who'd been caught first, was fuming. Cove wiped the water from his face. You rubbed at your ear, trying to dislodge the water that had pooled there. Don't spray people, you laughed. Watch out, he has a cast. You pushed her away. Yeah, the cast shouldn't get wet. I guess we'll tell her to be careful. Worried, you looked at Cove's plastered arm. You knew that he had to be careful with it around water. It's okay. The girl simply darted off to find more victims unaffected by your reaction. She doesn't mean anything by it. Lizzie tutted, flicking her hair out of her face. The girl, not meaning anything by it, didn't change the fact that she'd been sprayed. Cove looked similarly unimpressed. Lisa's face lit up as she had an idea. Hey, we should catch her. She won't be able to spray people if she's running away from everybody. Yeah. Cove nodded as the other kids murmured their interest, or lack of it, in the game. Let's do it. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me. Okay, nodded along, no thanks. Shook your head. That doesn't sound like a good idea to me. You sat on the sidelines as the other kids chased after the girl with the pistol. Spotting them racing after her, she laughed and shot her pistol in the air. Only a couple of drops squeezed out. She swerved, causing discord within the group as they stumbled over each other in their uncoordinated attempt at turning. You watched quietly, I think. It didn't seem necessary to do anything but watch what happened. The gap between the hunters and the hunted was narrowing. Eyes wide, you watched as Lisa lunged and tackled her friend to the ground. Got her! Panting, she punched the air in triumph, then pushed her glasses back up the bridge of her nose. The girl who had been caught giggled as she got to her feet, brushing strands of grass from her knees. Smiling, Cove came to a stop. Lizzie whooped with delight, clapping her hands. The boy with the bright sneakers grinned. You're it now. Catch us if you can. Yeah. I'll do it. You won't get away from me. They all dispersed, squealing and laughing as they tried to evade capture. The sour mood from earlier had evaporated entirely, replaced by a light and playful atmosphere. Several rounds later, when most of the kids had taken at least one turn as it, the scent of smoke wafted up to your nose. Caught by surprise, you looked up and found that the brilliant blue of the sky had turned orange as the sun sunk down on the horizon. With all the excitement, you'd lost track of time completely. Looking over, you saw people standing over the grills and poking them to life. It was nearly time to eat. We should get over there. I'm so hungry. Our parents are at different spots. Yeah. Bye. It was cool playing. Yep. Bye. You waved goodbye to the other group of kids before hurrying over to your parents with Lizzie and Cove. A tickle unfurled in your throat, growing more persistent as you came closer to the source of the smoke. As the three of you approached the tables, your parents spotted you and came to join you halfway. You tried to greet them, but another cough obstructed your words. Oof, that's quite a cough. Are you alright, sweetie? You nodded confidently. I'm fine. No, you shook your head. I'm fine. Are you sure? No one needs to go up to the grills if they don't want to. Just let me know what you need. There was no response from the other two kids here. Well... let's go. If it's not too bad, If it just makes me cough a little, I guess I can go and get it myself. Alright, but tell me if it gets too much for you.
So,
The main thing being served is kebabs. You can have whatever you'd like on it. There's different meats and veggies. As you approached, you found the vast array of bits and pieces ready to be skewered and served up. You chose chicken, beef, shrimp, pork, onions, peppers, zucchini, potatoes. Well, I love potatoes. And zucchini and peppers. And that's that. Sounds good to me. The veggies will be good for you. Order given, you waited for your food to be ready. Lizzie headed towards you, having issued her own request. Hi again. I heard what you ordered. I'm getting a chicken kebab with all 3 colors of peppers. Noticing that Cove approached, she turned to him. What are you having?
why?
Why does it matter? I don't know, I was just asking. I'm getting beef and shrimp with all the vegetables except onions. Lizzie hummed while evaluating the response. That's okay, I guess, but chicken is definitely the better one. Then you can eat all the chicken. I'm going to. I want some of the chicken too. All the chicken in the world. Chicken is the worst. This is a stupid argument. Or chicken is the best choice. All the chicken in the world?
No.
No, that's dumb. You know what I mean. Lizzie peered over to the grills where the kebabs were being handed out. A growing assortment of kebabs collected in your parents' hands. They're coming over. Don't get jealous of mine when you realize you made the wrong choice, Cove. I didn't make the wrong choice. There isn't a wrong choice. We all made good choices. Same to you, Lizzie. Sigh. We all made good choices. It's just what kebab somebody eats. The person serving gave your mummy one final kebab, then your parents moved over to rejoin you. Between them, they were carrying 6 kebabs, one for each of you, including Cove and Mr. Holden. We've got the goods. Cove's daddy is looking for a place we can sit. In the meantime, they began passing out the kebabs to their rightful owners. Lizzie smiled smugly as she received hers. These are pretty big. Be careful not to drop it. Try not to poke yourselves with the ends either. They're sharper than you might think. Hearing that, you tentatively pushed the tip of the skewer against your finger. It felt like the point of a newly sharpened pencil. Though it didn't hurt your hand, you wouldn't want it scraping the roof of your mouth or jabbing your tongue. Mummy clucked her tongue. It would have been nice if the options were a little easier to manage and less messy to eat, especially for smaller kids. There aren't even plates for everyone, so we could eat the food down. So we could set the food down for a second.
True.
That's what you get for the price of free. But we can hack it, right? Lizzie nodded her head vigorously, clutching her kebab like a trophy. Your parents led you back to the tables. It was immediately evident why Mr. Holden had been sent to scout one out. The benches had quickly filled up as people got their food. Mr. Holden was standing over a corner section near the edges of the sitting area. He beckoned your group over to join him. You clambered onto the bench, taking care not to let your kebab slip from your fingers. Further along the table, Cove perched next to his dad, while Lizzie took the space next to you. Your mum passed the final unclaimed kebab to Mr. Holden.
Thank you.
This looks delicious. Thank you for getting us a space to eat out here. Everyone tucked into their food. Though you didn't think you'd used much energy standing around, you felt very ready to enjoy your dinner. Perhaps it had been the delicious smells that had filled the air, along with the smoke that had so irritated your throat. Mr. Holden, what do you do?
Well,
I do a lot of things. Do you play golf? Only if you count my mini golf. One look at Lizzie's stricken face confirmed that she did not. She could enjoy the occasional round at a mini golf place, especially if she had an audience to impress, but your sister took her passion very seriously. Even then, it's been years since I gave it a shot. Cove groaned at the feeble pun. Mom chuckled. You weren't sure if she was responding to the joke, Cove's annoyance, or Lizzie's offense.
Don't worry about it.
Just as well, she'd be dragging you to the green every week. That's because I've got dedication. You need a good drive or two to get far. Mr. Holden nodded, clicking his tongue in appreciation. Cove looked from his father to your sister, lost in the conversation. Outclassed in golf and wit. I don't get it. More golf stuff. You should give a real golf a try. Maybe I'll even teach you some tricks. Don't try to change my dad to be more like you. Lizzie gave Cove a dirty look at the accusation. Mummy felt the need to move the topic ahead before it got heated.
Oh, nice.
That's really sweet of you, but I'm sure Mr. Holden is busy. He might not have time for another hobby. Yeah, I don't think I'm made for that. Still, the offer is appreciated.
Why?
Then tell me something you really do already. You just go away every day. I like scuba diving. Though with the business, that's more work than play these days. Surfing and reading, snorkeling. Those are things Cove likes. Good thing you live by the beach. Let's see. I think we are a kind of introverted, quiet girl with a rich inner life, but I guess we could say something. Wow, it's a good thing you live by the beach. Don't I know it? I have nightmares about moving inland.
No way.
That's not a good joke. The sun had been setting when you'd got your food, and by the time you'd finished, night had truly fallen. Your sticky fingers were the only remaining evidence of your meal. The kebab had been a great combination, more than the sum of its parts. The seasoning of freedom, to consider every ingredient yourself, was what made it something to remember. Rising from the table, Mummy held up her water bottle. Okay, now that the food is gone, you've got to wash your hands.
Okay.
Hazel, Lizzie, please hold them out. Lizzie complied, coming over and cupping her hands together in front of her. Mummy splashed some water over her fingers, and Lizzie rubbed them together, working off any residue. Here. Mum passed her a paper towel from her purse, and Lizzie used it to dry off her hands. Your turn, Hazel. You readily held out your hands. Begrudgingly, you lifted your hands up. You didn't move. I don't need to. I'm gonna readily hold out my hands. Copying Lizzie, you washed your hands, taking care to clean every crevice between your fingers before wiping them dry. Nearby, Cove had taken his own course of action, wiping his hands on his pants and leaving a stain where his fingers had been. Mr. Holden shook his head.
Come on.
Let's clean that off, pal. He scrubbed at the fabric with a scrunched up napkin. Dad, it's not that bad. When everyone was cleaned up as clean as they could be with the limited facilities, Mom spoke up.
Let's go.
Let's go make one last check at the coolers and restock on drinks before the fireworks show. No time. We have to get a good spot. Everywhere's gonna be taken. How about I go ahead and save space again? You can meet up with me in the field after getting the drinks. Then I'm going with Cove's dad. I'll find the perfect place.
Okay.
Sure thing, I could use an extra pair of eyes. Mummy shook her head ruefully at Lizzie's even more enthusiastic than usual attitude.
That's fine.
Alright, me, Cliff and Lizzie can go find a place to sit. Pam, Cove and Hazel, do you want to get the drinks? Okay. Let's nod. As Mummy, Lizzie and Mr. Holden headed off into the wide open field where the fireworks were being set up, you joined Cove and Mom in returning to the cooler where you'd picked up drinks earlier. Even as you approached, you suspected you wouldn't find much in it. Where it had originally been stocked to the brim, it was now half empty. The ice, which had cushioned the drinks and kept them cool, was largely melted, with only a handful of pieces floating like tiny icebergs. Slim pickings. The drinks that had remained looked to be bottles of plain water, but you caught a glimpse of something more colorful in amongst them. Mum rummaged around the cooler, excavating a couple of juice boxes from the bottom in the process. Aha! Hazel, Cove, you can take one of those if you want. The perks of helping. Yeah, you took a juice box to share and a water bottle for yourself. Let's think of other people as well. Cove hesitated, but decided to take a juice box for himself. When you were each loaded up with your chosen drink, plus an extra bottle or two for someone else in the group, Mom's phone started to ring. She juggled the water bottles over into the crook of her arm and looked at the caller. It's Mommy. Hold tight while I get this.
How are you?
Hey hon, how's it going? Did you find your perfect spot already? She nodded along to the call, punctuated by ahas, as Mummy gave her directions. Catching your eye, she gestured towards the grassy area. We've got a place. Come on, we'd better hurry before the show starts. You and Cove jogged after your mom, who led you through the field, and the separate groups of people assembled there, back to the rest of your families.
Hello.
Hello, we're here, and we come bearing drinks. Though there wasn't much left. The three of you handed over the spare drinks. You held up the extra juice box. I brought this for someone.
How sweet.
You're so thoughtful, Hazel. Despite Mummy replying pretty expectantly, there was just one person who made a claim to the sweet drink. Can I have it? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. I love you, Hazel. Aw, you two are a real pair. Once everyone had been equipped with a beverage for the big event, you sat on the grass near your family and waited for the magic to begin. Most people in the park had taken a seat now, with a few stragglers silhouetted back at the tables in the distance. A few rambunctious kids were still dashing about, but their number was steadily decreasing as their parents called them over and restored order. Someone bearing a cardboard box weaved between the groups, pausing every so often. You nudged Lizzie and pointed. What are they doing? It looks like they're handing something out. I can't make out what it is.
What a pickle.
I hope it's not drinks. Mummy chuckled, but Lizzie and Cove were now watching the bestower of mystery goods keenly. Are they gonna come to us too? Mom softly put her hands on top of your sister's shoulders, as if she feared Lizzie might bolt over to the stranger. Lizzie didn't even glance at her, eyes locked on the potential prize. I don't know.
In that case,
We'll have to wait and see. You were intrigued, you didn't care. Well, I think I'd be intrigued. Studying the man with the box closely as he gradually meandered nearer, you could make out that he was handing out small items to most of the groups he stopped at. They seemed too short to be water bottles, but beyond that, it remained a mystery. Then the boxman made his way to your group. Evening, I'm handing out dessert. Any takers? There's dessert? Lizzie squealed, hopping up off the ground. The man chuckled. I'm gonna take that as a yes. Ice cream's on the menu, vanilla flavored, with a twist of either chocolate or strawberry syrup.
nice.
None for me though, thanks. Same, but the offer is appreciated. I want chocolate. Can I have strawberry? And a strawberry for me too, please. Now you are going to have to make a decision, chocolate or strawberry. Well, duh, chocolate. Reaching into the box, the man brought out the requested ice creams and tossed them out. It came packaged in a little plastic cup, complete with a wooden spoon stuck to the paper lid. The condensation wet your fingers in a pleasant way. Kids, are you going to thank the nice man too? There was a chorus of thanks. He cordially nodded and walked off to another group. The man couldn't spend much time with each group, considering how many he had to get to. You peeled back the tab that covered the ice cream and got right into your unexpected treat. It tasted amazing. Lizzie was definitely enjoying hers. Cove was too. Lizzie munched away happily, but it ultimately didn't succeed in monopolizing her attention. Eyes wide, she looked at her mummy and pulled on her pants.
Please!
I didn't get strawberry. Can I have some of yours, please?
Of course.
Lizzie cooed with excitement as Mummy presented her with a dollop of the ice cream and syrup mixture. Licking her lips, Lizzie lapped it up. Mummy, come on now. Lizzie has all the ice cream she needs. She simply laughed and pinched Lizzie's cheek, then dug her spoon in again and held it out to you. I just can't resist. Hazel, would you like some of mine? She's got a full cup of ice cream to eat already. But that's not the same as getting a little extra from your mummy. You accepted it, you passed it on. Let's accept it. You ate the treat being offered, much to Mom's chagrin and Mummy's delight. Cove watched the exchange silently with a blank expression. Mom, on the other hand, shook her head, a fond smile on her face. Well, you better at least give me some too. You could have gotten your own if you wanted ice cream.
What?
What? The kids have ice cream already, and they're getting some of yours to boot, and I have nothing. Now is when you decide to be firm. Laughing, Mummy fed some ice cream to your sulking mom. She could never actually follow through with being tough.
There.
All better now? Yes. Good. How about you, Cliff? Would you like some? How much ice cream is there in that cup? No, I'm still okay. But thanks for keeping me in mind. Because I was thinking that those were tiny, like the sort of ice cream cups that only have a few small spoonfuls in them. Cove, it's only fair that you get the choice too. Cove shook his head firmly, concentrating on his own cup. Mummy smiled. Okay, as long as no one is feeling left out. Mummy was always so nice to everyone. Then the first firework cut through the sky, whistling as it ascended until it hit its crescendo with an explosion. The park flashed as if alight. Squealing, Lizzie leapt to her feet, her forgotten ice cream tumbling to the ground as the firework crackled into tiny drops of glitter in the sky. It's starting! Everyone else looked up to the sky as another firework whizzed through the air. With each explosion, Lizzie would jump into the air. The event was thrilling. It was impossible to tear your eyes from the scene. The loud noises hurt your ears. Well, the noises are loud, but I've been to some fireworks shows and they have never been loud enough to actually hurt. So I guess it was impossible to tear your eyes away from the scene. Cove sat by his dad, captivated by the sky sparkles and flashes overhead. Mr. Holden watched the fireworks scene impassively. He did smile at you and even gave a thumbs up when he noticed you looking over. Mummy hopped to her feet, pulling Mum with her, pushing her into joining Lizzie in jumping up, in tandem with every crack of a firework. Mummy then bent down to offer you a hand up too. You decided to quietly watch from the ground. You got up to join your family. I think let's quietly watch from the ground. The vast array of colors in the sky were hypnotic. As if entranced, you stayed rooted to the floor, marveling at the wonders flashing above you. Mummy understood when you didn't get off the ground. Instead, she sat down again right by you. The two of you enjoyed the sparkles side by side, while Mum and Lizzie danced together. The fireworks continued, some twisting like the coil of a spring as they arched into the air, others shooting straight from the ground and shattering into a million tiny specks. Every color got its spotlight in the show, from fiery reds to eerie greens and blues that could rival the ocean. You eventually noticed that at some point Mr. Holden had let Cove perch atop his shoulders, or more likely, Cove had to be persuaded to give it a try. Still, Cove's face was covered with a wide smile that matched his father's own. You imagined the view from way up there was pretty impressive. It was also nice that they were getting along for once. The show built up to a grand finale that boomed over the park and filled every inch of the sky, the twinkling lights representing the full spectrum of the rainbow. As the final glittering embers dissolved into the night, you released a deep breath. The after-image was still burned on your retinas, leaping up behind your eyelids with every blink. Within a minute, the image had been lost, but it was burned deeper still in your mind. You'd been so focused on the show that your foot had gone numb beneath you, and it was only when you attempted to stand that you felt the tingling sensation of blood rushing back to your toes. Cope was on the ground again, your eyes locked momentarily, then you turned back to your family. The news that Cove and his dad would be coming with you to the once-a-year event hadn't been great. You could admit now that it hadn't been as bad as you'd feared, but it would take far more than not actively ruining one event for you to consider Cove a friend. Though the sun had gone down long ago, the air on your bare arms was warm. You took in your giddy family, their spirits buoyed by the firework display, and smiled. This had been a pretty special night. Okay, that event was longer than I'd expected. Let's save here for now and take a look at another one of these events next time. So if you like this video, please leave it a like, and if you'd like to support my efforts here on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel Gentle Gaming for Wellness. It is quick and easy and doesn't cost you a thing, but it does help me a lot. Thanks so much for watching. I wish you a lovely rest of your day, and I hope I'll see you in the comments below.